Hello. Welcome to the stream. Getting things set up. Oh, how's everyone doing? How is your week going? How has it been? Live is now. Let me change this banner. Did you sail this week? How is it going? We've got the Fed in the chat saying hello, everyone. Hello back. Suna as well. Good evening to Denmark. No win this week. Yeah, there's a high pressure over Denmark right now, as Jakob says. Everything's just getting ready for a perfect week of conditions next week, the following week, when our masterclass is. Hola, Eric. Hola. We've got Rasmus in the chat, who had a flat water session in Silt. And Eric sailed 8 for 8 days in Pozo. Now he's back home. That's the way to do it. Do targeted trips to windy places. Matt is saying, super happy the masterclass is not this week. Me too. Jorg had a session this week. I haven't. I've just been getting ready for the masterclass. That means getting stuff ready for the masterclass. It also means getting things ready with my family. So trying to be extra supportive, make sure that they're fine while I'm gone for 2 weeks. And I mentioned that not just randomly, but because I think that it's a really good strategy. Like Eric just did, taking 8 days off to go to Pozo, having the time to drop everything and go on a forecast or on a planned trip, it doesn't have to be on a forecast, is really powerful. If you have a family, a partner, and kids, it can be difficult and it's something that needs to be negotiated. But if you try to strive for a balance where you're doing a bit extra sometimes, it is a lot easier to do. And some people say, oh, I just can't get on the water. It's so hard. I have all my commitments. Well, look at how you can unwind some of those commitments, how you can change the structure of those relationships where maybe you can pull more weight at different times so that you have the time to get on the water. Because windsurfing is a sport where it's so difficult to get everything set up, and having that freedom either to go on a forecasted trip or on a scheduled trip to somewhere windy, whatever it is really powerful, and really powerful for getting better, for having fun. And then the better you get, the more open other conditions are. So if you go somewhere like Tenerife, and I use Tenerife as an example instead of Pozo, even though Pozo you maybe get more days, but I use Tenerife because there's lighter wind often, and so it's maybe more transferable to what you're doing at home, even though Pozo might be more spectacular of everything. But yeah, it opens up more conditions. Really valuable. This video that's playing, this is from a couple years ago in the fall, and it was the week that would have been the Aloha Classic, but there was no Aloha Classic. And I felt so on point these days, and I was really disappointed that we didn't have a competition that year. This was one of the COVID years. I think this was 22, and yeah, felt very good these days. I found some of the footage, and I haven't been sailing this week in Germany, so I figured I'd put it on. This is a kind of sailing that I've really been enjoying doing, lots of hard turns, and yeah, some tricks mixed in as well. I love that feeling. And even on sessions where everything is working, still gonna fall. It's not about not falling. I can't say that enough. High level windsurfing is not about not falling. Really important. And you can see other people in these videos as well. Ricardo, Robbie Swift, Morgan, and they're also falling. Right? Falling is part of the game. So falling is nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, on the contrary, if you come in from your session with dry hair because you didn't fall at all, that's something that not to be ashamed of, but you got to check yourself and really look in the mirror and see if that is a satisfying way to windsurf, because that means that you're not pushing yourself at all. You're not trying anything new. And is that what you want to be doing? And sometimes maybe it is, sometimes you want a session sometimes where you really aren't pushing yourself and you're just, doing what you know how to do and relishing and enjoying that feeling. But I wouldn't have that be the goal, have that something you do sometimes as a reward if you like it. But otherwise, find the joy in pushing yourself, in falling. There's some amount that you should be falling in order to make sure that you're still improving and pushing yourself. Eric says that his home currency is plagued with inflation. Oof. Greg says he has to give 6 weeks notice for his patients and colleagues, but he gets out after work because of the long daylight in the summer. Rocky wants to stop by and say hi, and Clip Muller, yeah, no problem. Bye on the beach, say hi. Oof. I want to hear what other people's strategies are. So this is a known issue where if you've got other commitments, maybe it's your work, maybe it's your patients, maybe it's your wife, maybe it's your kids, and you want to take time off to go windsurfing, to do a trip, what is your setup? How does it work? Could it be better? Could it be worse? What works well and what doesn't? All right, let's get into the Facebook group, but I do want to hear what works for you guys in terms of domestic life situations that allow you to take time off to go windsurfing. And that time off could be in chunks, or it could be the freedom to spontaneously say, hey, it's windy. I know we had plans, but I told you that if it's windy, I'm not going to be able to make those plans, and you understand. Maybe that's the setup. So let us know in the chat. And oh, we've got Caro Weber. Hello, Caro. You've been on the water. All right, I'm going to load up the Facebook group. Just give us a second here. And meanwhile, in the chat, let us know what your domestic setup is. What is your domestic setup? Oh, watching this video makes me miss Maui and look forward to my next week in Denmark. It's going to be fun to get back on the water again. It's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Eric says that his Pozo trips are planned and allowed for in advance. He aims for trips when the wind is there. Pozo is a happy compromise. Caro says it looks epic. Suna says that one of the kids moved out, and make sure your wife has an expensive hobby, and then that will buy you all the freedom you can dream of. Yes. So just get your wife into horses or something like that, maybe racing cars. Riding horses is a good one, though. And then your windsurfing hobby seems quite tame in comparison. I love it. All right. I'm going to get the Facebook group loaded up. And yeah, all right, here we are. Facebook group is loaded up. So let's go through it. Let's start at the top. Well, first of all, there's something I want to talk about in the bottom. If you want to support the group and get a very cool beach bag, you can do it here. So this is the bag. You can see on these pictures, it's a nautical, so sailcloth made duffel bag. I use these bags for so many things. I use them for shopping. I use them for the beach. I use them for the gym. I use them if I'm going away for a weekend. They are awesome bags. And if you want to buy one, you can go here. I'm just realizing this is not a link. Why is that not a link? Now let's save this. Hopefully it shows up as a link. It doesn't show up as a link. Anyway, so then you have to copy this and paste it. That's annoying. That's annoying. Let's see if we can make this better, a better experience. So if you want to support the community and get a cool bag at the same time, you can do so here. I don't know why this doesn't show up as a link. That is annoying. We're going to have to fix this. I'm going to do a post now. Support this community and get yourself a cool windsurfing masterclass duffel bag. All right. Now there's a post. Anyway, I didn't mean to spend so long on the swag, on the gear, but these bags are great. It helps support the community and you get a cool bag. So if you're interested, and there's only 13 total, so I think there's even less than that now since I posted this. So it's limited supply. If you're interested, cost is 79 euros, and that includes shipping within Europe and also the US. And if you're somewhere else, let me know, and we'll figure out shipping and how it works to get there. All right, I'm going to refresh the group, and let's get into it. All right, so here are the questions from the Facebook post. Suna asks, in the bottom turn, is it okay to lift your heel from the board, or should you try to keep the heel on the board and press just with your toes? So I think you want to keep your heels on the board, but you don't want to think about just pressing with your toes. Instead, you want to think about pressing with your ankles, or not even with your ankles. You're pressing with all your body weight and all your force, and that's then expressed through your leg and through your toes. But you want to think of it, especially that bottom part, as being very strong and rigid, so that the force is applied to the board, right? So if you have your rigid, this is your ankle, this is your foot, this is your leg, and we want to really press the board over, we don't want to be up on our toes, because then that pressure is mainly just going down, and we want to lever the board over onto the rail as best as we can. Now, that said, there are going to be times where you go up on your toes and the heels come off the board, especially if you're riding a wider board and you're trying to get your weight more forward. But that's not the goal. And the goal is to keep the foot more solidly on the board while you're leaning forward and in a strong power position. But sometimes the heels are going to come off the board, especially if you have a stiffer, wider board. That's definitely something that's going to happen. And there's a lot of situations, especially in onshore wave riding, where that can happen more often. So don't be alarmed if it does happen, but if it's happening excessively, then you really want to look into what's going on. Also, I think Thomas says if you're more about your front or your back foot, and does it make a difference, front or back foot? I'm not sure. I think sometimes if you're pressing really hard on the back foot, then sometimes the front heel can come up, especially with a wide board. In general, you don't want to be in that position because it's not getting the board over on the rail, which is your goal. But sometimes as you're getting leaned over and, with a stiffer board, especially in lighter winds or onshore winds, it's going to happen that your heels come up. But while you don't want to stress about it, that's not what you want to be doing. All right, before we move on to Jakob's comment, we have a question from Greg, if there are any master classes this winter planned. So I've been looking if I can get to Cape Town in the winter, and I'm going to be in Maui in the fall, and so it's going to be difficult to get to Cape Town. I would like to go there, and I would like to do coaching there. But because I'm not planning to fly from Europe, it depends on the flights from the States. And there are direct flights from the States, but it's a little bit more difficult. Otherwise, I'll be on Maui. If I'm on Maui the whole winter, I'm happy to do coaching. So if there are people who are coming to Maui, and I have to be back in Europe most likely for the spring. So from April on. So let's see. Anyway, my schedule is a little bit hectic, and so trying to figure out the schedule so that I can set the dates for the master classes. I will do one in Morocco though. Dates are not 100% confirmed, but I will do one in Morocco. We had such a good time this year in June. I'm planning to go back there for sure. Look out. I might even start doing applications for that now because we had a really good time. I can confirm the dates. Carol wants to know when I'm coming to Cape Town. I would really like to come. I would really like to come. It's just figuring out how to do it. All right. Harold's getting ready for the masterclass. No sailing. Ragnar's on the same boat. We got Jeff in Oregon heading to a rarely sailed spot halfway between the coast and the gorge. Where's that? I don't know where that is. Jakob says, how can he break down training back loops in smaller segments? So the back loop, unlike the forward, is a bit more of an all or nothing move. But that said, you can still break it down. Ben Profit has the micro back loop approach where you're going very upwind, very small, and not doing a lot of rotation. And I think that that's probably a good incremental way to do it. Jakob, my comment, though, to you might be to forget back loops for now and come back to them, but to work on push loops. So a lot of your rotations when you're going for back loops, and I could say this to Jakob because I've sailed with him a bunch and I've seen him going for back loops, and often the back loops go into push loops. And so maybe it's time to start embracing the push loop, trying to hold on to the boom, do the full rotation, land on the tail. Push loops versus back loops are such a similar movement, and some people find one rotation easier than the other. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure. All right, so we've got another question in the group from Harold. He says, any rule to set up the foot straps for a wave? And he got his foot stuck in a few times. Yes, there are some rules. I have a video about it on YouTube. Also, in the master classes, we go through this on the first day. But what I'll say here, there are some general rules as well. You want to make sure that they're wider than you would have them for speed or slalom. I would say the minimum width is somewhere around, I think like 46 centimeters, and you can go up to 51, 52, depending on how tall you are. And so you definitely don't want them to be too narrow. And also you want to have the straps loose, but loose in the way that they're tall but narrow. So you want them somewhat pinching the feet on the sides, but with a lot of height. And you want to be able to get your whole foot in the strap. So if this is your foot, you want the strap coming up really almost to the ankle, to your leg bone. So you get your whole foot in there, and that gives you a lot of control over the board, and it helps them not get stuck. Oftentimes, if just the toes are in, then they get stuck more easily. So you want them pretty big, pretty loose, but pinching on the sides, and that helps you get in them, stay in them, but also come out when you want to come out. All right, next up, we've got a question. We're going to do this two ways. So we've got two different posts from Florian. I'm going to go through this one first, which was the first one that he posted. Let's make this bigger. Okay, so we've got a bottom turn and having a bit of trouble traveling with the wind. All right, let's see what happens here. Go for a tack. Nice tack. Solid tack. Nice. So Florian says he's struggling to get a top turn. The first thing that I notice here is the placement. So this wave, it looks like a wave, but actually it's not really. It's a bit of swell that's coming in with a bit of white water. It's not really breaking. It has no face. It has no bottom. It's very fat, very flat. And there's a little bit of white water there, but that doesn't really mean it's a breaking wave. It's more just swell with white water on top. So it's unbroken swell. The waves that are over in the background do look like real waves. You can see it has some face, it has a bowl to it, it has a lip that's breaking. This wave is something you can hit. So if you're sailing in this area, you're going to have a much better chance at wave riding, because where you are now, the wave just does not have a lot of power. And this is due to the bottom shape. So this is going to be very similar from one day to the next. Now, if this is a sandbar, which it could be, it could shift around. But in general, this is a spot where the water is deeper, and so the waves are not breaking. And you want to be here where the waves are breaking. I would watch from the beach and watch the better sailors and find someone who is able to hit the lip on these waves or ride the waves well, and see where they're catching them and where they're riding them, and then maybe go follow them. So just from looking at the video, it looks like a little bit more downwind, the wave has more power. It might be as well that the wave has more power on the inside. It might be that then it's shore break and you don't want to ride it. It might be that this area down here is forbidden to windsurf. I see some flags on the beach. I'm not sure what the story is, but where you are riding, the wave is not really a wave. It's swell with a bit of white water on top. And so you want to be somewhere where it has some force. And that force will allow you to travel up the wave, and then you can turn against it. And so here, because the wave doesn't have any force, you are having to do all the work of the cutback. What I like to say is the bottom turn is your job. The cutback is the wave's job. If you're working hard in your cutback, you're doing it wrong. You want to work hard in the bottom turn to set yourself up so you're board and everything is in the position that then the wave is going to push it back around, which you don't have that opportunity here. So the main thing is just timing and placement. And if you have that wave and then the faith that it's going to push you back, then you're going to be able to commit a lot more to the bottom turn as well. And that's one of the things that's also lacking here. Something that you can think about to help with these bottom turns is pointing with your back hand where you want to go. So you're aiming with the back hand where you want to go. And that should help you get a little bit tighter on the bottom turns and more clear of where you're aiming. But again, the most important thing is where you want to be. It looks like Jeff had the same comments. And so now this is a video in response to those comments. Whoa, look at that forward. Awesome forward. I love the horizontal rotation. Good technique. Good technique. Nice technique. Going off the ramp, pushing everything downwind. This is the goose screw technique. Sheeting in hard, pulling everything around. If you do this higher, bam, you're going to land on the board. This is great technique. Great technique. Really great technique. One, take a bigger ramp to go higher, or two, really push off of the chop. Think of going from small, tight, to tall, BNX, to ball. Those are two ways to get extra height, but this is awesome. Good effort, really good effort. It's a tiny ramp. Yeah, bigger ramp, and you'll land it. All right, welcome to our new members. Here's the duffel bag again. You can support the group, get a great bag. I don't know why these links don't really work here. You've got to, I don't know. I don't know what's up with Facebook. Here, here's the link. Does that work? Let's see if it works. Yep, it works. Okay. All right. Stefan wants to go windsurfing in Vancouver. We've got Jennifer, who lives in Squamish, and she goes to Vancouver Island to windsurf. That is probably the best bet, Stefan. All right, to the winds. Let's look at some more winds. So these, we talked about some of these. I think we talked about some of these last week, or yeah, they're all new. I guess they're all new. All right, let's just go through them. Awesome. So Joris scored The best wave sailing session he's had so far with Hans and Rich. Nice. Stoked about it. Awesome. And the other Hans missed it. Oops. Greg improved his fast tax. Cool. Mael, who talked about her back and hip pain, solved it. That's awesome. How did she solve it? The answer is going to the gym, doing hip thrusts, losing 12 pounds, and playing rugby. Awesome. John just got the green light for another Pozo trip from his partner. Nice. Alex said he got out in the waves for the first time in a long time. Suna went to El Medano for the first time. Suna, I did not know that was your first trip to El Medano. Awesome. Glad you had a good time. Matt almost landed a back loop. Jeff had 2 good lip smacks. Jeff is a certified lip smacker. John is getting better in the waves and back into forwards after what seems like a year-long break. Max said he enjoyed some good sailing and got some new kit, and he's finally getting the gear for his lost weight body. Thorpe went windsurfing. Hans going windsurfing with his 9-year-old daughter. That's awesome. Jay said a couple good turns. I love it. This is my kind of win too. Just having some really good turns I can think about that stay in my mind. Maurici had some good sessions. Greg survived a kite hit to the face. Oof. Oof, that sounds terrible. What happened? Pascal improved her bottom turn by surfing a smaller board. Cool. I love it. Eric landed his second forward and got a better sensation when connecting the bottom turn to cutback. Ragnar said his wave riding, he feels like it has improved. Awesome. And he's working on the forward loops. I love that you're back on the water, Jakob. I was worried when you told us about your shoulder injury. I was worried that you were going to be down for the count for the year. Awesome that you've been on the water and feeling good. Jorg is going to come on Masterclass, and he just had a good trip to Klitmuller as well, going back there. And you, Nishi, in Japan, has been practicing airs. Awesome. Yes, what's the tip for landing in front? It's all about timing and hitting the curl of the wave. Japan has such good windsurfing. I want to go back to Japan soon. All right. Is that everything? I think that's everything. All right. Next up, Mario wants to get his solo shot going. And so this is a camera, if you don't know what it is, that can film you while you're on the water. It pans and tracks. I don't have any experience using one, but I know there are a lot of people who do use them to capture their windsurfing. So we've got some comments here. All right, next up. So Eric had a private lesson with Pons yesterday with his two-way comms, and he got exactly what he wanted from it, which was quick feedback as to what he needs to improve. And so taking off more downwind, staying tucked longer, and there are minor points. And he really liked the two-way communication helmet. And yeah, let's watch some of the footage. It's looking good, looking snappy. I like it. My main criticism is with the timing and the placement rather than the technique. This looks like solid technique for Pozo. Yeah, it looks like you'd probably be better off a little bit more downwind from where you are. Let's watch the second video. All right, let's watch the forward. Yeah, I mean, the rotations are solid. Okay, what do we need to do differently? So you're still holding the rig very close to you, which keeps it tight. What you want to think about is really throwing that rig up and in front of you, a little bit also into the wind, and then pulling on it. And that's going to give you more lift, more hang time, more float. So really throwing that up. So I like to think about that, making that X and then pulling myself up onto the boom. It's like my sail is a hook, sky hook, and I'm hooking it onto the wind and then pulling myself up on it. And that will help give you some more lift and some float, and you're going to rotate more. Because the issue here is you're just not rotating enough for your height. So then your board is hitting, you still have the energy to rotate, and that's why then it flips over, because the board is still moving even though it hits on the tail. So if you have more lift, more height, this is going to be solid rotation. More speed would also help. More speed would also help. All right, we've got a question from Axel. He's had quite a bit of sailing, but hit a plateau in his learning curve. Plateaus. Time to get off the plateau. Unless you're happy on the plateau. You know, it can be nice sometimes to sit on a plateau, be happy for the things that you learned. But if you want to get off the plateau, I recommend learning something new. Just choose something. It could be heli tacks, it could be forwards, it could be duck jibes, it could be backside wave riding. If you need any help getting off the plateau, that's what this community is all about. And if you want to talk about where you are on that plateau, I can give you some things to work on to help climb off of it. All right. So John mentions that I also have the two-way helmets, and I do use them a little bit in the coaching, but what I'm doing in the master classes, in the group master classes, is really different than this. So this kind of coaching, like Eric is doing with ponds, is about refining small aspects of technique, and having that two-way communication is really important there. And that's not what I'm trying to do with the master classes. So with the master classes, what I'm trying to do is change your life and change how you think about windsurfing and wave sailing, and change how you're thinking about improving, how you're thinking about having fun, how you're thinking about getting on the water. And it's this holistic approach to improving that is not about minutia of technique. And in fact, a lot of times is actually going the other way, because there's so much about small bits of technique, and then we miss the bigger picture. And I think that that's really a problem in windsurfing instruction in general. All of these magazine articles are filled with these like tiny little aspects of technique, and people are missing all of the big picture things that they should be thinking about that will actually help them windsurf better and have more fun. So part of those courses is actually getting people out of that part of their brain where they're looking at small aspects of technique, and more about bigger picture, different ways of thinking, different concepts and fundamentals, which really help change your life and help you have fun, help you improve on the water. And just a different way of looking at it. The other thing is, you don't want to be too much in your head with technique, because it's a different part of your brain than the one that's flowing with the water. So it's something where it's needed, but you also have to balance it with the other stuff. And I find so much of windsurfing instruction and the way people think about it is so heavy on these small aspects of technique that it's really important to expose people to all of this other stuff. And open up some minds, and hopefully change some lives, and for the better. What I found the best with the two-way helmets is helping to break patterns, and so especially in wave sailing, and that's often just encouraging people to go for it. I remember I had a session with Jakob on the helmet where basically I was screaming into his ear every time he was on the wave, hit it, hit it, hit it. And I think that seemed to help. And so that was a use of the helmets that really worked. All right, we got a question, one more question, and we're going to wrap it up. Rasmus says, what about making a wave rig sail cover branded windsurfing masterclass. It would serve as a tool for recognizing other members and a large billboard to promote the group. Yeah, I could do that. Is there interest though? Rasmus, would you actually buy a rig bag? I don't know how many people want rig bags. The only people I'm used to seeing with the rig bags are the World Cup competitors. But are people actually buying rig bags? If that's what you're talking about a bag that you can put on the beach that you can put a fully rigged sail in. If that's what you're talking about, definitely could do it. I used to have one when I was competing. I think I gave it away. But how many people actually use those? How many non-pros use rig bags? It's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Thank you. And I can definitely make them when we can make them to order. They don't have to be, doesn't have to be a stock item. So yeah, I'll look into making one and then using it for myself and taking some pictures. And then if you're interested, if someone is interested, they can use it. Yeah, so Yaka, basically it's just a big bag in the shape of a rig sail, and you can put 3 or 4 sails in it. Rigged sails, fully rigged sails. So when we're competing and we're on the beach for a week, we'll have one of the bags and we could put the stuff in it. Matt says the stickers. I do have the stickers. Kara says hats and t-shirts. Yes, I'm working on the hats and t-shirts. I want them to be nice. I did a small run of t-shirts when I was in Hawaii and they came out pretty good, but I want to make some changes. And I don't want to rush into something where the quality is bad. So I've been taking my time with that in Europe. The bags, I love the bags, the ones that I posted in the group. So that was the first thing that I offered because I know that this is a great bag. I love it. I use it. But everyone who's been on a masterclass has one already. But if you're not on a masterclass and you want one, you can get one. All right. I am going to sign off. I hope you guys have a wonderful week. Next time we see each other, I am going to be in Denmark for the masterclass. Hopefully I'll have sailed already. Hopefully we'll have a windy start. But anyway, it'll be a different background, and I hope that you have a good windy week between now and then. Remember to post your questions, comments, concerns, photos, all of the above in the group. Jeff, have a good session and let us know how it goes. Remember to post in the group. All right, everyone, take care. Have a good week.